A 1-kilometer convoy raced toward a pontoon bridge, carrying enough fuel and cargo to keep an entire front supplied. Russia believed this crossing was the one route Ukraine couldn't touch. They were already listening before the first Ukrainian drone left the ground. The bridge itself only existed because Ukraine had already destroyed the permanent crossing months earlier, forcing Russian engineers to lash together a chain of floating pontoon sections as a temporary replacement. It worked precisely because it wasn't rigid. A missile could punch a hole in one section, and Russian crews would simply disconnect it, float in a spare, and reconnect the chain within hours. You can't sink a raft by hitting it once. Ukraine understood that going in, which meant this operation was never about making another hole. It was about taking the bridge apart entirely, from the inside, while the convoy was still crossing it. 10 FPV drones launched first, low and fast, aimed at a hardened observation post Russia had built specifically to shred Ukrainian UAVs before they got anywhere near the crossing. The lead drone found a fighting position dead on, and the explosion tore a hole straight through the coastal defensive line. 3 more followed in quick succession, hitting a trench, a gun emplacement mid-traverse, and an observation post near the bridge approach. Smoke rolled across the shoreline, blinding the defenders at the exact moment it mattered most. Behind that opening, something much larger lifted off the ground. A heavy-lift hexacopter, repurposed from agricultural use, now carrying an 80-kilogram shaped charge slung beneath its body on cables. Every time the aircraft changed direction, that suspended payload swung like a wrecking ball, threatening to drag the whole airframe off balance with it. Ahead lay open, cratered ground with no cover of any kind. Exactly the kind of exposure that should have made a slow, heavy target like this one impossible to get across alive. It didn't fly alone. 6 escort drones fanned out around it, hunting gun positions, keeping Russian gunners pinned down, and doing something more subtle, feeding their own live video back to Ukrainian operators who had quietly tapped into the Russian FPV pilot's own camera feeds using a wideband signal receiver capable of decoding even deliberately inverted video streams. Ukraine wasn't just flying blind and hoping. They could see exactly what the Russian pilots were looking at, and more importantly, what they weren't looking at. Every Russian camera stayed locked on the escort screen. Nobody was watching the heavy drone quietly crossing the open ground behind it. The heavy drone itself gave off almost nothing. Minimal heat, minimal noise, difficult to pick out against the smoke and haze. But every time the pilot touched the controls, a radio pulse went out, whether anyone was watching for it or not. On the far bank, a Russian passive signals unit wasn't looking at video at all. It was listening for exactly that pulse, triangulating a rough bearing on the control signal with each transmission, narrowing the search radius with patient, silent efficiency the Ukrainian side had no way of detecting, because a purely passive listening device emits nothing of its own to give itself away. The heavy drone crossed the last stretch of open coastline and moved out over the water. Below, the ruins of the old permanent bridge stretched out, cratered by months of earlier strikes. Its spans warped and unusable, which was exactly why the pontoon crossing existed in the first place. The pilot ignored the convoy vehicles entirely and focused on something almost invisible on camera, the joint connecting 2 floating sections. That joint, not any single truck, was the bridge's actual weak point. Destroy a vehicle and you get a wreck. Destroy the right connection point, and entire sections can swing loose with the current, opening a gap nothing can cross. The drone began its final approach, the explosive payload swinging low over the bridge deck. 2 kilometers out, Russian direction-finding stations finished their triangulation and handed a bunker location to their command. Artillery could hit that bunker directly, but a buried position can absorb a conventional shell and still keep its crew alive inside. So instead, Russia sent 2 attack drones toward the bunker with a different purpose entirely. Not to destroy it outright, but to force the people inside to run into the open, where a reconnaissance drone circling above could mark them with a laser for a precision-guided artillery round waiting behind the lines. The Ukrainian pilot watched 2 new video signals appear on his monitoring screen, closing on his own position, 90 seconds out. He couldn't leave the controls. He couldn't abandon a drone carrying 80 kilograms of explosives mid-flight over open water either. All he could do was keep flying and hope the timing worked out in his favor. Then his own video feed shattered into blocks of noise. The image froze, flickered back for half a second, and died again. He pushed the stick right. Nothing responded. A second later, the aircraft lurched sideways on its own, the suspended payload continuing to swing in its original direction through pure inertia, dragging the whole airframe further off course. He switched frequencies, standard anti-jamming procedure. Still nothing. This wasn't narrowband jamming he could dodge by hopping channels. It was a wide-spectrum barrage system flooding every frequency simultaneously, so that switching channels meant switching into more of the exact same noise. His only option left was raw signal power, pushing the transmitter harder until the stronger signal punched back through the interference. It worked, barely, the image returning in jagged, stuttering fragments, just enough to show the drone drifting off its approach line. He corrected, and a second later it began stabilizing back onto course. But every extra watt he'd pushed through that transmitter had made his own signal louder and easier to pinpoint. What had been a search area several hundred meters wide moments earlier was now narrowing down to a single fortified position. The drone crossed roughly half the remaining distance and slowed to a hover above the far bank, searching for the anchor point where steel cable tied the floating bridge back to a fixed concrete block on shore. That anchor, not any individual pontoon section, was what actually held the whole structure in place against the current. Destroy one section and you get a gap. Destroy the anchor and the entire chain can swing loose at once. The pilot located it and began lowering the payload on its winch, the explosive swinging in the wind as gusts pushed the aircraft off position and forced constant delayed corrections. That's when the tracers started. A heavy machine gun opened up from a sandbagged position several hundred meters out, rounds crossing close enough on the second burst that the pilot could do nothing but hold position, since any evasive move risked snagging the payload on the bridge structure or tearing it loose from the anchor pit entirely before it was armed and placed. He called in an escort. One FPV broke off, dove into the gun position directly, and silenced it in a single impact, at the cost of that drone itself. A second gun opened up almost immediately from a different, better camouflaged position, forcing the pilot to hold the heavy drone motionless again, while another escort peeled off to deal with it. Back at the control bunker, the first Russian drone had already arrived, diving on the position before a shotgun crew in a neighboring trench blew it apart mid-approach. The second didn't repeat that mistake, circling wide around the shotgun's firing arc before slamming directly into the bunker's outer wall. The shockwave knocked equipment off its mount inside. 3 more signals were already converging from different directions. With the payload still hanging just short of the anchor point, unarmed, the pilot made his choice. He switched the heavy drone into automatic stabilization, letting it hold position on its last received data alone, released the controls, and ran with his spotter for a secondary position 40 meters back, the final stretch completely exposed after an earlier strike had collapsed their covered route. They were halfway across it when the sound arrived. Not the horizontal drone of an FPV, but something falling straight down. They made it into the entrance of the backup position 2 seconds before a laser-guided artillery round obliterated the position they'd just abandoned. 40 meters away, their old control point was gone entirely. Russian forces had found and destroyed the source of the signal. They were still a few seconds too late. Before releasing the controls, the pilot had already transmitted the final lowering command, and the heavy drone's winch continued executing that instruction on its own, feeding out the last of the cable until the explosive charge settled directly beside the concrete anchor block and its securing cables. Task complete, the drone retracted its winch, climbed, and withdrew along a pre-planned route, vanishing into the smoke while Russian guns stayed fixed on the remaining escort drones, never realizing the actual mission had already been accomplished. The charge sat armed and waiting, unexploded, because detonating it early would only stop the convoy short of the bridge. Ukraine needed the fuel tankers and cargo trucks actually on the pontoon sections first. The surviving escort drones peeled off and held position out of sight, no longer guarding anything, just waiting for the signal. When the convoy finally began crossing, armored escorts leading, cargo trucks and fuel tankers strung out behind them, 3 drones climbed hard and dove straight at the formation, as if committing to a suicide run. Every Russian gun on the bridge turned skyward to meet them, exactly as intended. While that fight consumed every eye and every gun barrel, 2 more drones dropped to just above the water and slipped in low along the shoreline, invisible against the glare and the waves. One decoy was shot down mid-dive, a second kept diving anyway, pulling gunners even further from the bridge entrance. The last decoy peeled off wide, drawing fire in a completely different direction. Below all of it, the 2 low-altitude drones reached the anchor point together. The armed charge Ukraine had planted was still sitting exactly where it had been left. The lead drone dove straight into the anchor pit. The explosion shattered the concrete block and severed the steel cables in sequence, one snapping, then the next, and the entire end of the bridge lost its mooring point at once. The current caught the first section and began pulling it sideways, dragging the connected sections behind it like a chain that had just lost its final anchor. A truck slid sideways into the railing. The vehicles behind it had nowhere to go and kept piling forward into a formation that could no longer move in any direction. The second low drone accelerated through the chaos, threading between stalled trucks, and struck a fuel tanker mid-convoy directly. Fuel sprayed into a mist and ignited almost instantly, the fireball swallowing the tanker and everything trapped around it. The last remaining decoy broke off from the fight overhead, spotted the flames, and dove into a second tanker several dozen meters away. That explosion built pressure fast enough to compromise the tanks beside it, fuel lines tearing loose, vapor spreading across a bridge deck that was now actively coming apart beneath the weight of everything still trying to cross it. Not every vehicle exploded at once, but it didn't need to. Heat from the first fires kept building pressure in every tank nearby, and the convoy, trapped between a broken front section and a jammed rear, had nowhere left to retreat to as the pontoon sections beneath them kept drifting further out of alignment with the current. Ukraine never needed to destroy every truck on that bridge. They needed exactly one anchor point, placed precisely, detonated at precisely the right moment, and gravity, current, and 1,000 tons of fuel did the rest. What do you think was the decisive factor in this operation? The decoy formation that pulled every gun skyward at the exact right moment, or the choice to target the bridge's anchor instead of the convoy itself? Let me know what you think in the comments, and subscribe to Military Dispatch for the next tactical breakdown.